I don't think a lot of dynasty managers really understand how to make trades. I don't think they know when they should be making trades or why. They're just flying blind, doing whatever feels good. And the result is that a lot of players are just rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic while their teams sink into mediocrity. So today I want to go over some simple ideas that will help you make smarter trades that will actually improve your team over time. And on your part, it'll just require a little patience, creativity, and an understanding of how scarcity drives the dynasty market. My name is Paul, this is Pure Potential. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure to subscribe to the channel, leave a like, leave a comment. Let's get into it. Okay, just bear with me here for a minute while I set the stage. If you've ever been at a sporting event or a concert, you know that the food there is typically much more expensive and lower quality than the food you could get somewhere else, right? The stadium can get away with charging you $15 for 3 little chicken tenders and some soggy fries because you're stuck there, right? You have no other options. Your choices are pay for the bad food or be hungry. And they know you're going to choose the food often enough that they don't really have to up the quality or lower the price. They have kind of a monopoly in that scenario. But if you take that exact same food place and you put it on a street with Chick-fil-A and Taco Bell and KFC, they would go out of business. They would either have to make much better food or they would have to charge a lot less for it because now you have other options. You don't have to settle for their particular food at their set price. And I think too many people make dynasty trades like they're stuck in the stadium. They think about every dynasty trade in a vacuum. And in doing so, they create a false dichotomy for themselves. You shouldn't be asking whether a given dynasty trade is better than making no trade, because that's not really the question. It's whether this specific trade is better than any other trade that you could realistically make with the assets available to you. YouTube members ask me about dynasty trades all the time in the Pure Potential Discord. I'm talking in the members chat every day about different dynasty trades, different scenarios, and I constantly find myself asking the same questions. What is your goal with this trade? Have you tried to get this other player? Have you talked to other managers or sent out other offers, or is this the only trade negotiation that you're engaged with at the moment? In other words, have you already explored your options and determined that this is the best one for your team? If so, then we can go ahead and evaluate this trade and just go ahead and make a decision for what's best for your roster. But it seems like most of the time, there's not a lot of homework being done. There's not a lot of due diligence being done. And I think that does your dynasty team a disservice. Let's use Kyren Williams as an example for this, because he's a guy that I'm pretty far behind the market on. If you go to Startup ADP, you go to fantasycalc.com, compare that to my dynasty ranking, it's clear that Kyren Williams is not a guy that I'm going to roster all that often. And if I was forced to choose, I would rather have Jalen Waddle or George Pickens or 2 second-round picks than have Kyren Williams on my dynasty team. But that's not the world we live in, right? Because I just said the market likes him a lot more than me. So if somebody offered me 2 second-round picks for Kyren Williams, I wouldn't just snap accept because, well, that's how I have it ranked. What I would do is go to the other managers in the league. Can I get a 2026 first? Can I get Christian McCaffrey? Can I get Kenneth Walker and a second? Is there some way that I can utilize this asset of Kyren Williams to get a better return than the one that was offered to me? Now, if all of those avenues failed, which can happen, you can be in a league that doesn't align with the larger dynasty market, then sure, maybe I go back to that first offer and I go ahead and take it because I still think that one's better for my team than having Kyren Williams. But at that point, I'm not creating a false dichotomy where I think I have to choose between this offer or nothing, because I've done my homework. I've gone and reached out to other people. I've tried out different deals that are going to actually improve my team even more than the one that's being offered to me. So when it comes to making dynasty trades, we want to be patient and we want to be thorough. But we also want to keep this actionable today, because obviously you can't invest hours negotiating and looking into hundreds of different trade options for every deal, especially if you're in a lot of leagues. So let's establish this key point. Your level of patience and diligence should depend on the scarcity of the asset that you're trading. So for example, David Montgomery is not a scarce asset. You don't really need to be worried about trading him away, because there's a very high chance that you can acquire a similar player at a similar price pretty much anytime you want. Scarce assets are, by definition, more limited. There's less supply, and that makes them harder to acquire. So today we're going to look at 3 types of scarce dynasty assets that you should be careful about trading, with a quick example for each one. And we're actually going to build on this idea in my next strategy video too, where I'm going to continue to correct some process errors when it comes to dynasty trades. So make sure to subscribe if you want to catch this next video. But for today, these three types of assets are elite young players, first round picks, and rookies. So elite young players, these are your cornerstones in Dynasty. Your Jamar Chase, Bijan Robinson, Brock Bowers. There's going to be some disagreement about who qualifies for this group at the lower end. Like I would include Nico Collins, Lad McConkey, Drake London. If it's tight end premium, Trey McBride absolutely belongs in that category. But we all know who the top players are. And these guys have the potential to provide multiple seasons of elite needle moving production. And as proven talents that still haven't even reached their prime production seasons, there's minimal downside risk with these guys outside of injury. So they're highly sought after, obviously. That's why they go at the top of Dynasty startups. And if you were building your perfect Dynasty team, it would be filled with these players, with Malik Neighbors and Jahmyr Gibbs and Jaden Daniels. These are assets that everybody wants, which makes them extremely difficult to trade for. When you send out a DM that says, hey, what would you want for Brock Bowers? Most of the time you're going to get ignored, or you're going to get some trade offer that includes every valuable player on your roster plus your firstborn child. You just can't go out and trade for a Brock Bowers type of asset whenever you want to. And for that reason, you should never be making an even trade if you are giving away an elite young player without receiving one in return. Fantasy Calc might think it's fair to trade Justin Jefferson for Jamison Williams, Quinshon Judkins, and Kyron Williams, but I'm never doing that in a million years. I don't care if I'm starting Will Shipley and Trey Benson at running back. I'm just not doing this deal. I will find another option because I can find running backs. There are a million ways to get startable running backs. There is not a million ways to get a Justin Jefferson. That is a scarce asset, and I'm going to be very careful about trading that type of a player. Next, we come to first round rookie picks. Now, first round picks are obviously scarce. There's only 12 of them every year, and just about everybody wants them because they're completely protected against injury or downside. They always gain value over time. They are the most fluid form of currency in Dynasty. Drafting rookies is fun. And there are multiple first round rookie picks every year that quickly become cornerstone assets, the guys we just talked about, capable of changing your team's outlook almost single-handedly, which I guess is why it's so fun to draft them. But a first rounder is really a golden ticket, okay? And you only have one golden ticket per year. You get one 2026 first, one 2027 first, and so on and so forth. So yeah, you should absolutely think long and hard before you trade yours away. And this is the one that continues to astound me in Dynasty, how easily some managers are willing to trade away their future firsts. Let me give you an example here. Okay, let's say I'm a contending team and somebody offers to give me T. Higgins for my 2027 first. On the surface, this move absolutely makes sense for a contending team. You're acquiring a player worth roughly a first for the price of a first. You get to improve a starter in your lineup without giving one up in return. But here's the thing. That first is going to grow and grow in value and demand up until that rookie draft. If you pull the trigger right now, you will never have the opportunity to trade that 27 first for something better, for a more impactful asset. And this isn't really a trade that I would ever make, to be honest with you, but I definitely wouldn't be making it until I had done my homework. I would want to know, what can I add on top of this pick for Nico Collins, for Brian Thomas, for Puka Nacua? If I'm giving up a scarce asset, is there a way that I can get one in return? If that's a dead end, I'm much more likely to just keep my first because I know for a fact it's going to be much more valuable next offseason. And guess what? I don't have to have T. Higgins on my team. I can go out and trade something else, something less valuable for Higgins adjacent production, right? Can I go check in on George Pickens, Jalen Waddle, Devontae Adams, Jerry Jeudy, Mike Evans? There are a lot of ways that I can potentially find high-end wide receiver 2, low-end wide receiver 1 type of production. And this isn't about me hating T. Higgins. I think his dynasty value is totally reasonable. I would be willing to trade assets that are equal in value to a first to get T. Higgins, but he's not the type of asset that I would actually trade my future first to get, at least not one in 2027. Maybe in 2026, if I have a pretty stacked team and I'm confident that that pick's going to be 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, but at that point, the manager you're dealing with probably isn't going to want to make the trade. The reason they're trying to get that 27 first is all the reasons I just laid out, because it has huge value upside and insulation, and they're getting in on the ground floor now while the pick is fairly cheap. And they know that investment's going to grow. So it's just not a trade that I would make. And again, you have other options if you need to go and get a wide receiver, but you don't have that many options to backfill that first round pick that is now missing. And the final asset today that I would categorize as scarce would be rookies. This is similar to the first round pick case, but not quite as scarce because we're not just limiting this to first round picks, right? These are just rookies in general. Now there's more downside with rookies than there are with picks, but rookies actually have this unique ability to gain incredible amounts of value in a short period of time. That's mostly not happening with firsts unless you hold a pick of a team that goes from contending to suddenly deciding they're going to blow it up and tank, right? Otherwise, picks are great as kind of a gradual value gain. But most of the time, you're not getting the type of ascension out of a future first that you're getting out of a Malik Neighbors, out of a Jaden Daniels. These are guys that come out of nowhere and immediately become these cornerstone type of assets. And for that reason, you should want rookies on your team. Not saying you have to stress out about every Taj Brooks or Isaac Tesla or whatever, but players like Trevion Henderson, players like Emeka Egbuka are scarce, and they have by far the best opportunity to become the next elite players in your league, the young players that are also very scarce assets that are scoring tons of fantasy points, that are going in the first or second round of startup drafts. So it might seem nice to you in theory to capitalize on rookie fever and trade all your rookies for players that are projected to score more points right away. You might think you're really pulling a fast one on your league mates by doing that. But if you're constantly underweight on the incoming rookie class relative to your league mates, you're going to struggle to maintain a high value roster. And that's ultimately going to shorten your contending window most of the time. So that's not to say you should never trade a rookie for more locked in production. But again, you want to be cautious. For example, if I have an immediate need at wide receiver, I'm looking for guys that I can plug into my lineup that can help me win a championship this year. I am not going to go out and trade Emeka Egbuka for Terry McLaurin or DK Metcalf. Will those guys score more points this year? Probably, yeah. In most scenarios, they're going to score more points, but they aren't going to score enough points or create a large enough gap between Egbuka and themselves to be worth foregoing that value upside. I don't really care what my team looks like in this scenario. I'm going to find a different way to acquire that wide receiver production that doesn't involve sending away a scarce, high upside rookie for players that just frankly do not have a similar value ceiling. Emeka Egbuka, I don't care how remote you think the outcome is, he has it in his range of outcomes to become one of the more sought after players in Dynasty. That is simply not a possibility for Terry McLaurin or for DK Metcalf. So bottom line today, guys, just to wrap this up, even if a trade appears to benefit your team in some way, it still might not be your best option. What I don't want you to do is create this sort of false dichotomy where you have this tunnel vision, where it's this trade or nothing. Instead, exercise patience. Even if it means you don't get to do a deal right now today, you don't get that little dopamine hit. Don't get restless. Don't go chasing trades just to make trades. You need to be picky when it comes to trading, especially when you are talking about scarce assets like elite young players, first round picks, and even rookies. Okay, be careful with those assets because trading them away is how you put your dynasty team in a really bad spot. Anyway, that's going to do it for today, guys. As always, thanks so much for watching the video. Thank you for supporting the channel. If you enjoy my Dynasty content and you want to see more in the future, make sure to hit that subscribe button. And if you'd like even more Dynasty content from me, consider becoming a YouTube member. You can go to the link in the description to sign up. That's going to give you access to weekly live streams on YouTube, private Discord channels in the Discord where like I said in this video, I answer questions about trades, I talk strategy all day long, and you can get access to my top 200 Dynasty rankings as well. Either way, guys, I'll be back soon with another Dynasty video, and I hope I'll see you then.